यमुना तीरा ये राम माधव कुंज बिहारी हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे 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 कृष्ण जय राधा माधव राधा माधव राधे जय पंचतत्वा पंचतत्वा जय पंचतत्वा जय गौरंगा 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 जय गौरंगा जय प्रभुपदा 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 जय प्रभुपदा जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्री श्रीमद एसी भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की इस्कॉन फाउंडर आचार्य बीबीटी फाउंडर आचार्य श्रील प्रभुपाद की नामाचार्य श्रील हरिदास ठाकुर की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की समवेद भक्त वृंद की श्री श्री गुरु गौरांग की गौर प्रेमानंदे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमम् देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु भद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. So, welcome to this evening discussion on the Sri Bhagavata Dharma. Can keep your mobiles phone in silent so that we can focus on the discussion. So, the last 3 days we have been discussing the Bhagavad Dharma series, which is an important discussion which comes in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second chapter. We basically began this discussion of the importance of this study of the Srimad Bhagavad Dharma. We began this discussion by narrating the whole background in the Srimad Bhagavatam, how Vyasdev offers his Mangalacharan in 3 verses. First, he offers his respectful obeisances to the Supreme Personality of Godhead by saying Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And in 3 verses, he speaks about Sambandha Videya and Prayojan. And then the background is the setting of the scene where the sages in Naimisharanya are performing a 1,000-year-old sacrifice, and Sut Goswami arrives there. They give him an elevated seat, they glorify him, and they put forth 6 questions. And among the 6 questions, the first 2 questions are very pertinent. What is the highest benefit for all living beings? And what is the essence of all scriptures by which the Atma can be satisfied? Yenatma suprasidati. So the next 4 questions are directly pertaining to Krishna, but these 2 questions are very generic. And Sut Goswami offers his prayers and begins answering the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. And in the Srimad Bhagavatam, as we were explaining, that bhakti is the abhidheya, is established first by Sut Goswami in this series of discussion. Sambandh is to Krishna and abhidheya is bhakti. And bhakti, when we say, it is Shuddha Bhakti. So this has been repeatedly and consistently established in the entire Srimad Bhagavatam, right in the first canto in the Narad Samvad, again by Sukadeva Goswami to Parikshit Maharaj, Brahma to Narad, Brahma to Narayan, in the third canto by Kapil Dev, Maitreya and Vyas in the fourth canto, Prutu Maharaj by the Sanat Maharaj. So repeatedly in the Bhagavatam, this has been established that the Abhidheya is Bhakti, Shuddha Bhakti. But this series of discussion from 1 to 6 to 22 is very, very important. And Srila Prabhupada gave an entire series of classes in New Vrindavan called as the Bhagavad Dharma series. So we had been discussing these verses, and we saw uh, up till now, I think 18 or 19 verses. Now, today, the last four verses we will discuss. But before we discuss the last four verses, we should do an overview till now where we were. So, this was one of our emphasis that one should repeatedly study this series. And the classic example in the Srimad Bhagavatam of how somebody took to bhakti, Shuddha bhakti, and perfected his life. That is Narad Muni in his previous life, when he narrates to Vyasdev, which will come in the fifth and the sixth chapter of the Srimad Bhagavatam. So one should repeatedly study these two. Although the first part, the Bhagavad Dharma series, is more philosophical and it is difficult, the later part, the story part of Narad Muni, how he becomes a pure devotee and how he goes through the different stages and attains perfection, is very inspiring. And then that's the only hope for us as sadhakas. So we should repeatedly study this. So Sud Goswami begins to answer by saying, Save Pumsan Paro Dharma Yato Bhaktir Adokshaje Ahetuk Apratihata Yayatma Suprasidati. The supreme dharma for all living beings or all human beings is sadhana bhakti, by which prema bhakti to the Lord arises. Yato bhaktir adokshaja. This bhakti is ahitukya apratiyata. Only this kind of bhakti, yenatma, so yayatma suprasidati, yenatma nahi, sorry, yayatma suprasidati. So that satisfaction or that satisfaction of the soul to attain, the bhakti has to be pure. It has to be completely selfless. So then only we can attain that. That's why it has to be ahetukya. Ahetukya also means that the self-causative nature of bhakti. And ahetukya also means anya abhilashita shunya. Apratiyata means it is uninterrupted. It is not covered by jnana and karma. Because jnana and karma can cover, especially the karma can cover the bhakti. So that's why it has to be apratihata. So we discussed quite in detail this verse. And then what kind of satisfaction, the mind gains by this kind of bhakti, that is explained in this verse. Janeti ashu vairagyam jnanam chayad ahetukam. The mind takes satisfaction in the different moods in which the devotee is relishing rasa with Krishna. Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya, and Madhuri. Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. When the Bhakti has attained Prayojan, that is Bhava Bhakti, that time uh, is where Ashu, quickly, that Bhakti produces what? Jnanam and Vairagya. And Gyan here also refers to what I said? Vigyan. It refers to complete realization. So that very soon we'll come to that verse where it says that. And then Sut Goswami goes on to prove that he has positively proved that Shuddha Bhakti is the Parodharma. And this is the essence of the scriptures by which the Atma can be satisfied. But now, what is not Parodharma? He establishes from the series of verses from 1 to 8 to 1 to 13. That if you practice a Varnashram, you're situated in a Varnashram and you don't develop, Katha Ruchi, Vishwakshena Katha Suya, then Nodpad Yedayati Ratim, you don't have attraction, then all your duties of Varnashram are Shama Evahi Kevalam. And the real goal of Varnashram is Dharmasya Apavargasya. It is Apavarga. That means you perform the dharma of hearing and chanting, which is Bhakti Yoga, Shuddha Bhakti Yoga, Sadhana, Shuddha Sadhana Bhakti, to attain prema bhakti. That is apavarga. Not for artha. And one who is dharma ekantasa, he is not diverted by artha. Because from dharma comes artha. And from artha comes kama. Kamo labha hi sprita. Mhm. So that is what should not be his desire, to perform dharma for artha so that he can get kama. So that is the point. And kamasya na indriya priti, nendriya priti. Labho jiveta yavata jivasya tattva jigyasa. Narto yasceha karma bhi. So kama is not to satisfy the senses. The senses need are to be maintained only for self-preservation, so that we can practice spiritual life. That's it. So sense gratification we compare to salt. If it is too much, we cannot have it. If it's too little, we cannot have the food. So too much sense gratification, then it diverts us. Then the body becomes, which is a vehicle for sadhana, becomes incapable of practicing. With the body, if you don't give enough food, then it becomes weak and you cannot practice sadhana. So as much for self-preservation one should. And life goal is meant for jivasya tattva jigyasa. So what is that tattva? The tattva is defined here. Vadanti tat tattva vidas tattvam yajnana madhven brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavan iti shabdate. So we discussed this quite in detail of how the absolute truth is compared to a gulab jamun, and how these different seekers see that one absolute truth from different perspectives. So, and they realize only particular aspect of the absolute truth, Sat, Chit or Sat, but only the Bhakta can realize the Sat, Chit and the Ananda feature. And how do you realize that absolute truth? What is the practice? The practice is given in this verse. Tat Shraddhadhana Munayo Jnana Vairagya Yuktaya Pashyant Atmani Chatmanyam Bhaktya Shuta Grihataya. For the devotees, they should practice hearing and chanting, and they'll realize the absolute truth in his Bhagavan feature. And Jnana and Vairagya will automatically follow. They need not practice. Whereas the other two paths, Jnana and Ashtanga, they have to practice the angas of Jnana and Vairagya. That is the difference. And then he concludes, अतः पुंभिर्युगश्रेष्ठ वर्णाश्रम विभागश सुनिष्ठितस्य धर्मस्य संसिद्धिर हरितोष. So be situated in your varnashram, but ultimately you have to satisfy the Lord. And the Lord is satisfied only by what? Pure devotional service. Not by the performance of varnashram duties. Although Parashar says that varnashram duties, nanya tattosha karanam, but it is meant for whom? For those who don't have adhikar for Shuddha Bhakti. So at least they can practice Varnashram, get purified, so that it becomes a stage where you can take up to Shuddha Bhakti, because you get a lot of opportunity to hear from the sadhus and you get attracted to Krishna Katha. So that is how he concludes. And then he quotes this verse. He concludes the discussion. Tasmad ekena manasa Bhagavan Satvatam Patim Shotavya Kirtitavyascha Dheya Pujyascha Nityada. So Ekena Manasa means the mind fixed in pure devotion, without attraction for karma and jnana. Worship Bhagavan by Shravanam, Kirtanam and Smaranam and Archanam, Pujyasa. These are the four things, four principles we discussed. Now, after he has concluded this discussion, Sud Goswami now explains how, now he has established that it is Shuddha Bhakti one has to practice. Now, what is the result of practicing Shuddha Bhakti? When one practices Shuddha Bhakti, what happens? Karma granti nibaddanam. But yad anudhyasina yukta. So anudhyasin, we yesterday had a long discussion on this. Anudhyasina, what it means. That only when you do shravanam and then you do kirtanam and then smaranam happens. So shravanam means to hear and hear attentively and grasp the transcendental message. So shravanam includes mananam and nididhyasa. This is the process of learning, that you hear the subject and then you contemplate on what you have heard, and you have to realize the text. And this is called as bodha. Bodha means to have an intellectual insight about. Sometimes you speak to your friend and he explains, oh, I see, you say. No? It's not that you see. That means now I understand. So bodha means to understand. And then nididhyasan means to deeply realize what you have understood in deep meditation. So only when you deeply realize in your meditation, then the subject is realized in the heart. Then you live that subject. So that is how you have to hear, and then you have to do kirtanam. And after doing kirtanam for a long time, then natural remembrance comes, smaranam. And only by this level of smaranam, gradually one starts making progression to attain liberation. Karma granti nibaddanam. Right? So it will cut. And that's why who is that? That person who will not attain kata ruchi. So where does this kata ruchi begin from? From hearing. So we yesterday discussed these 14 stages. So now the progression of bhakti, how when one takes up to Shuddha Bhakti, how he progresses, that whole progression is given. The whole roadmap is given to you, by which you know, where you are, in which stage you are, and from there how to go ahead, what are the obstacles in each stage. So everything is given. The inner journey of the roadmap is given to us. We have to take the journey. We all have experienced that when we want to go external for some journey, then we need a roadmap, right? Everything needs a map by which you can, you know, traverse through and reach your destination. Yes. And there are different milestones to show that where you are at particular point, right? So similarly, this is the inner journey of how we go through these different stages and ultimately attain prema, prayojan. So we saw that there are these 14 steps which Vishwanath Chandra Thakur has mentioned, and he gives these different stages. And yesterday we started discussing about the stages. So I'll just briefly recap these stages because today we are going to continue and discuss the last three stages. So in this verse, Shushusho Shraddadhanasya Vasudeva Kataruchi Swanmat Sevaya Vipra Punyatirtha Nishevana. So first there is Satam Kripa. The great devotees, Mahat, when they glance upon someone, they bestow devotion to them. And because of that impressions of having a darshan of a Mahabhagat, I just recently, maybe 1 month back, met a very old lady. She's in her 80s. And she told me, not in 80s, maybe 70s, she told me that I saw your Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. I was just a 7 or 8 year old kid playing in the garden of some stadium near Bombay. And we were children playing. Our house was nearby. And your Prabhupada came and gave a lecture. And when she was narrating this, I was observing she was able to recollect that entire scene, and I was feeling as though Prabhupada is speaking. And she told me The way she was narrating, how Prabhupada's voice is, she first time heard, how, eating meat is detrimental to the practice of spiritual life. And since then, she has heard once that sound vibration, she has never eaten meat. That is the impact of a sadhu, you know. We might think, Arey, she's not a devotee with tilak, not having kantimala, she's not chanting Hare Krishna, but she's initiated in the sound vibration of the holy, of a Mahabhagavat. At what time and when it will fructify and it will suddenly, turn to bhava and prema bhakti, we just cannot say that. At what time? You know, we just cannot predict. So that kind of a mahat seva, just by that darshan, stam kripa, then you do mahat seva. By their mercy, you are doing seva. And then there is faith to hear the sadhu. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, this is the preliminary stage of faith. And then there is what? You take shelter of a guru and hear from him. And then there is a desire to perform bhakti. I also want to chant Hare Krishna. And you start chanting Hare Krishna. That is the stage of Bhajaneshu Spurha. So all these five stages are in this verse. And then this verse yesterday we discussed also. Shunvatam Swakata Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtanam. Ridantastohya Bhadrani Vidnoti Surit Satam. Krishna purifies the heart. Krishna enters the heart and he purifies the devotee and destroys all the sins. Now, yesterday we had a long discussion on this verse, if you remember, and we were going into this discussion. Then, from hearing with taste, this is very, very important to note. It's not just hearing, you have to have hearing for taste. You have to have taste for hearing. Anyone has a Vaishnav song book here? You have to have taste. Just like you have taste for eating, not prasad, sweet items. You have rasa for it, right? You have rasa for it, right? So similarly, there is so much rasa for hearing Krishna Katha that you forget all the mundane rasas. So that is the stage where where actually the real purification begins. That's where the real purification begins. And this hearing with taste is what yesterday we discussed as Shravana Dasha. Shravana Dasha. Dasha means stage, huh? Not Dasha or Dasa. Dasha. Dasha means stage. So only when you come to the stage of Shravana Dasha, one begins to hear and chant, it is mentioned. From there, actually, your hearing and chanting begins. You are hearing the mantra now, the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. When you're chanting in the beginning stages, most of the time you don't hear the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. But only when you cross the Namaprad stage and come to the Namabha stage, then you are actually hearing the mantra. And you don't hear any other sound. And you're absorbed. And that chanting is going to purify you. From there, purification begins. Before that, it's all preliminary purification. The real purification begins from there. That is why I just wanted to point out Prabhupada in his mark in Bhagavat Dharma. What is he saying? हाँ धीर होया सुने यदि कान्हे बार बार You have to become dhira. And then you have to hear Shuni. भागवतेर कथा ते सब तब अवतार धीर होए सुने यदि काने बार बार. रजस तमो होते तबे पावे निस्तार हृदय अभद्र सते गुचिबे तहार. So only when you become a dhira, that means you're in the mode of goodness. You're attentively able to hear and you're not disturbed by any distractions. And even if there are distractions, you don't get distracted. So if you come to that point, then Krishna is situated in the heart. And then Krishna cleanses the heart. So it's not just hearing, it is absorbed hearing. Where I was yesterday explaining that just like the dhara of the Ganga is flowing and you join that wave, just like these what is it, surfers, na? They surf on the ocean waves. They just catch the wave and on the wave they're just going along with the wave. So similarly, the katha dhara which is flowing, the mind has to get connected. But the problem is we don't get connected at all. Same happens with the Hare Krishna mantra. We are vibrating the mantra doesn't touch the chitta only. That's the problem. So only when this kind of hearing happens, then real hearing process, then you're in Shravan Dasha. Then what happens? Purification begins. Krishna starts cleansing the heart. Otherwise, we'll stay where we are. We'll stay where we are. So that's why one has to become very serious about it. So yesterday we discussed the stages Anat Nivriti, and here Vishwanath Thakur says Bhakti. So Bhakti begins from here. The Shravan Dasha Bhakti begins. And this Bhakti means what this Bhakti is now? Shraddha Bhakti. The Shraddha Bhakti. So the Anat Nivriti has begun. Bhajan Kriya you are doing. Hearing and chanting is Bhajan Kriya. Right? Bhajaneshu Spruha is different and Bhajan Kriya is different. And then we discuss this Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavatya Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Neshti. So all the Abhadras are destroyed. The Dushkritutta Anarthas and Sukritutta Anarthas. Prayeshu they are destroyed. So now there are no obstacles. And the bhakti becomes very steady. Till then there is unsteadiness because of the Abhadras. And that's why we discussed that verse 7.28. Isham tu atam antagatam papam jananam punya karmanam te dvanda moha nirmukta bhajante mam drida vrata. So one cannot perform drida vrata bhajan because of the aparadha, especially because of the papa and the sukrututta and the dushkritutta anarthas. So this is where we completed our discussion yesterday. Yes. So here there is again Anat Nivriti happening with the bhakti, and then you have attained the stage of Nishta, right? So we discussed these four types of aparadhas: Dushrututta, Sukrututta, Aparadutta, and Bhaktiyutta. The Aparadutta start getting destroyed completely at the stage of Bhava. In Prema, there is authentic destruction. Okay, from here we'll have to continue. Okay. Tada rajastamo bhava कामलोपादयश्चये चैते अनाविद्धम् स्थित्वं सत्त्वे प्रसीदति. The mind, Cheta, becomes unaffected, anaviddham, by lust, greed, anger, hatred, and illusion. Kama lobhadayascha ye ete. All these. So, lust, anger, lust is because of the mode of passion. Anger is the transformation of lust. It is a mode of ignorance. So all these different, bhavas, because of the effects of the modes, the mind is unaffected, which rise from rajas and tamas, the rajas tamo bhava. Then tada, the mind becomes fixed in the form of the Lord at the stage of asakti and becomes satisfied. Stitvam sattve prasidati. So in this verse, our acharyas explain that two stages are being discussed, ruchi and asakti. Tada rajastamo bhava kamalobhadashe chetete ranavidam is ruchi and stitvam sattve prasidati is asakti. So from nishta you go to ruchi and from ruchi you go to asakti. So ruchi tada rajastamo bhava and asakti is stitvam asaktam or firm attachment. So once you come to this stage asakti, you're done. Then now Krishna's spiritual energy will take you to higher levels. But till Asakti, you have to put in efforts. Of course, that's also happening by Krishna's mercy, but your efforts are required. Our determined efforts are required. So these are the two stages here. Now, I want to go through the commentary of Prabhupada on this purport. Prabhupada says, a devotee is always in the mode of unalloyed goodness. Who is a devotee? Who is a devotee? Unalloyed goodness means what? Shuddha Sattva. So Prabhupada is now giving the definition of who is a devotee. Devotee means he is transcendental. And this is the standard Prabhupada is setting up here in this verse now. A devotee means he is transcendental to the three modes. He is in Suddha Sattva. And therefore he doesn't harm anyone. That means anyone who is not in this Suddha Sattva, he will what? Harm. And that means he is not a devotee. But a non-devotee, however educated he may, is always harmful. So who is this non-devotee now? You might think, no, Prabhupada is speaking about outsiders, not devotee. No, he's speaking about us. So if you're not on Shuddha Sattva, you're a non-devotee. Now again, this is from looking from a different perspective. Anyone who chants the name of Krishna once is also a devotee. But again, there are comparative understandings. So here Prabhupada is giving the highest understanding. And then he says, a devotee is neither foolish nor passionate. That means he is neither in the mode of ignorance nor in the mode of passion. The harmful, foolish, and passionate cannot be devotees of the Lord. However, they may advertise themselves as devotees by outward dress. You might wear tilak, kanti mala, Vaishno poshak, and you might proclaim yourself as a devotee. But they are not, cannot be devotees of the Lord. So here he is giving Prabhupada is giving the highest standard of who is a Vaishnava. Vaishnava means he's a postgraduate Brahmana. Brahmana is in the mode of goodness, and Vaishnava means he is in Shuddha Sattva. So that's the understanding. A devotee is always qualified with all the good qualities of God. So we should have all these qualities, what are mentioned in the scriptures. And that's also one of the characteristics of pure devotional service. The first characteristic of pure devotional service is kleshagni. The second characteristic is shubhadham. All the good qualities of the Lord there. Now, just to check whether we are practicing pure devotional service, this comes in the southern section of the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. The qualities of Krishna are discussed there. So we have to check whether we have these qualities. If these qualities are not manifest, that means our bhakti is still not Shuddha Sadhana. We are one level below. Shuddha Sadhana bhakti. So that's one way we can check also. So a devotee should be having all these good qualities, equal to the Lord. Equal to the Lord qualitatively, not quantitatively. Quantitatively, such qualifications may be different, but qualitatively, both the Lord and his devotees are one and the same. Now, Vishwanath Chakra Thakur. The mind is not transformed, anavidam, by the agitations of lust, greed, and other qualities such as anger, illusion, and hatred, which rise from rajas and tamas, bhavas. These different emotions come, and um, sometimes devotees have tussles with each other, and all the bhavas come. All the bhavas from that heart come, right? So once two devotees, I was just sitting and studying in the ashram, and two devotees came back from their services. These are full-time devotees staying in the ashram, and they had their own cupboards, and they were having a tussle, you know, that about the books, some service they had, and his books were missing. No, you took it, you took it. They were going through all this rajastamo bhavas. So I just stopped for a moment and asked, which rasa you all are relishing? Veer rasa or Raudar rasa? I said. So then they suddenly got pacified. They forgot their tussle for a moment. So these effects of the moods, as long as they are acting on us, then we have to understand that Shuddha Bhakti is not manifested. This means by lack of taste for material objects, the state of ruchi, the appearance of relishing for hearing, chanting, and other processes arise. Now, I make this point. How do you know that you have taste for chanting? How do you know you have taste for chanting? Yes, Prabhuji. Oh, that is a very, very elevated stage. We want here only post. What to speak about Brahma's post? We don't want them Brahma's post. That is very elevated. That is Shuddhana. How do you know that? Yes, Prabhuji. Yeah. But based on the statement here, what Bhakti Vishwanath Chakra Thakur means, we have no taste for mundane rasa, no taste for shad ras bhojan, whether it is sweet or whether it is karela, bitter. You cannot make out the difference between the two when you have it. Absolutely, this taste doesn't affect your mind. That means you're free from all mundane taste. Then you have some taste for chanting. If anyone gets affected by either of the material mallows, like you can take sweet, but when you take, you get affected, you want more. And somebody has given you Karela, you take, and he comes to give more, he says, no, I don't want. That means you're affected both ways. So when you get affected by these material mellows, that means you don't have any taste for hearing and chanting. Very simple. You can't distinguish between the two and you don't get affected by it. That means you have taste. So that is the test to know whether we have taste for chanting. In the previous state, the mind was pierced by the sharp arrows of lust and greed. How could the mind be satisfied in that state? Because the mind was getting pierced. Hare Krishna. Yes, we'll share the slides with you. The mind was not satisfied because it was constantly afflicted by the arrows of lust and greed. So the mind's satisfaction was not there. How could the mind attain real taste for chanting in that state? How could it get attain taste? And let me tell you, it's our observation that sometimes being many, many years in the Krishna conscious moment, many, many years, still we have taste for material mellows in the form of Shadras vision. So where is the taste for the holy name to get afflicted by this? So where is the taste for the holy name? If in our offering to the Lord we have offered and prasad comes and we taste the prasad and we have not we have forgotten to put what? Salt, right? But what will you do now? What will you do? We'll add salt and but when the Lord could have without the salt, why you cannot tolerate for a one meal that day to have as the Lord had? Hmm? Can't we not tolerate that? We can't, right? We can't. That's a fact. And see Sanatan Goswami. Madan Mohan manifested to him. Madan Mohan used to stay with him. He used to stay on the Dwadashaditya till below a tree. Madan Mohan used to be there and he used to get some what? Atta, roll it in the Yamuna water, make some bati in the fire and offer it. And every day Madan Mohan is having. One day Madan Mohan spoke and told Sanatan, at least give some salt. And Sanatan Goswami saying what? Today you're asking salt, tomorrow you'll ask for sweets. I'm a bhikshu. Where I should get all this? You make your own arrangements. So that is, his, you know, his relationship with the Lord, that the Lord will speak. So as long as you don't transcend these mundane things, there's no question of developing spiritual taste for chanting the holy name. So it's not that one should endeavor to do it artificially, but one should do positive things to chant attentively. Then slowly, slowly, the material mellows will subside. But if one doesn't come to this point after many, many years also, then it's a very lamentable situation. It's a very, very lamentable situation that we are still afflicted by mundane tastes. Okay. A person afflicted with pain cannot relish food. After this, the mind becomes fixed, stitvam, in Shuddha Sattva, deity of the Lord. Titve Sattvam Prasiddhi. This is the stage of Asakti. Now, Asakti and Ruchi These are the two levels, or these two stages are described in this in this verse. Now, what is the difference between asakti and ruchi is very interesting. In the stage of ruchi, when one is chanting the holy names, he has taste for chanting the holy names. He has what? Taste for chanting the holy names. He has ruchi for it. So his attachment is more to the angas of bhakti. He performs more the angas of bhakti because he's getting taste. He's now tasting spiritual rasa, little, little. So his attachment is for the angas of bhakti in ruchi. In asakti, he becomes attached to the angi. He becomes attached to what? Angi. That means he doesn't chant more because it gives him pleasure. He chants more because it gives Krishna pleasure. So it goes from aham to mama. Aham to what? Mama. And this is called as mamata buddhi. That I will chant because it gives Krishna pleasure. So that is the difference between ruchi and asakti. In the stage of ruchi, when because the mind has taste, the mind sometimes wanders, but the intelligence drags the mind back to the subject. That is Krishna or Bhagavatam or the holy name. In the stage of ruchi, even if the mind wanders, immediately the intelligence gets it back. But in the stage of asakti, the mind doesn't wander at all to sense objects. It always goes to Krishna because the mind has become attached to Krishna. Maya sakta mana pa. So that is the difference between the stage of asakti and ruchi. So this is just some understanding. Then next what happens is given in this verse. Evam prasanna manaso bhagavat bhakti yogata bhagavat tattva vijnanam mukta sangasya jayate. Then the mind becomes joyful and satisfied on attaining rati. Evam prasanna manaso. The mind is always prasanna because there is complete satisfaction of the mind. Yenatma suprasi. So evam prasanna manaso. So this is the stage of rati or what is called as bhava. Bhava and rati are synonymous. Finally, prema develops. Bhagavat bhakti yogata. So here bhakti refers to prema bhakti. Bhagavat bhakti yogata. Accompanied by appearance of complete detachment, mukta sangasya jayate. The devotee then experiences the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, powers, and sweetness. Bhagavat Tattva Vijnana. So I was mentioning that, Vigyan, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Pravedita, Janeti Ashu Vairagyam, Jnanam Cha Yad Ahetukam. So that Jnana refers to what I was saying? Vigyan. So at the stage of Bhava, one realizes the form of the Lord. In fact, in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, when sadhana bhakti is discussed, Rup Goswami goes into elaborate discussion whether there are three types of bhakti or three stages of bhakti. And then he concludes that there are three stages of bhakti because one can attain directly bhava bhakti also by inconceivable mercy of the Lord without practicing sadhana. But generally there is sadhana and sadhya bhakti. There is sadhana bhakti and sadhya bhakti. But sadhya bhakti has been divided into two, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. Now, why this distinction in the sadhya bhakti of bhava bhakti and prema bhakti? Because in bhava bhakti, although one is Krishna darshan sakshat yogya, he is qualified to have Krishna's darshan and Krishna gives him darshan, sakshat yogya. But he is still not free from impurities. Still traces of impurities are there. And complete impurities are eradicated at the stage of prema. So that's why in sadhya there are these two divisions, bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. So still there is some klesha in the form of what? In bhava, what are the kleshas which can remain? Aparam. Because of that, he might have some klesha, some suffering might be there. He might have to go. Very, very minute, very fine it is. But still there is some impurity. Because of aparad, there can be some klesha suffering. But in prema bhakti, no. In prema bhakti is completely purified. So that is why he distinguishes. And then he goes on to define what is sadhana bhakti. Sadhana bhakti which produces bhava bhakti. Because sadhana bhakti doesn't produce prema bhakti. Sadhana bhakti produces bhava bhakti. And then bhava bhakti further turns on to prema bhakti. So that's why he distinguishes. So first, the bhava bhakti is like the rays of prema bhakti. Suryamsha. Prema Suryamsha. The ray of prema which manifests in the heart. So prasanna manso Bhagavad Bhakti Yogat. And Bhagavad Tattva Vijnanam here means that at the stage of prema, not only at the stage of bhava only one is qualified to take darshan of Krishna and Krishna gives darshan. And then Krishna, you know, slowly starts manifesting, different qualities of his. And it all begins with fragrance. And first he is able to, smell the fragrance of Krishna. Gandha. Gandha means what? Fragrance. And that's why even a Bhava Bhaktana, you cannot understand him. He looks to be a completely crazy person, mad person from a material perspective. Because he might be smelling something and he might be smelling and he might be wondering what is he doing. Please put your mobile phones in silent. Yes, so you better not to bring them. Sorry, I had to bring it because I don't get it, but he had to send the link. That's why I told him to keep it there for charging. I don't know why he kept it here. So, Gandha. Now, just to give you some idea of what is the fragrance emanating from the body of Krishna, you all want to experience? Now, Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says, Punyo Gandha Prithvinyam. That earth has all the Gandha. And that's why you put any seed, rose flower seed, and then there is rose fragrance. So, in our flowers, which we know, which are the best fragrance? The Mallika or the Pushpa or the Champaka, right? the jasmine, right? So you can imagine what is the fragrance. It's how intoxicating is that fragrance, yes? Especially the mallika or the jasmine, right? Now, what is this mallika or jasmine? It is just one seed which is planted in earth. And how much it is extracting the gandha, that one seed. And imagine this entire earth, how vast it is. And this earth is one dot in the whole cosmos, which is one Brahmanda. And there are unlimited Brahmandas. And all these unlimited Brahmandas emanate from the body of Mahavishnu, who is an Amsha of Krishna. So you can imagine what must be the Gandha of Krishna. So when he is able to, you know, smell the fragrance of Krishna, how intoxicating it must be. So Krishna first, sends his fragrance, and then the sound. Then he starts hearing sounds, and he'll think still he is fully mad. You just cannot understand what is happening to a Bhava Bhakta. And then Krishna can sometimes touch. He can touch. So sometimes, what a touch can of Krishna can be, to understand from a material perspective, like a thunderbolt hits you. What effect it will have on you, you can imagine. So you can imagine what is Krishna's touch. So Narad Muni in his previous life experienced what? He saw the form in the heart, and then he heard the sound. The two of the features. So like that, in Bhava Bhakti and Prema Bhakti, this is what he's experiencing. And all these different experiences, what he goes through, each of the senses of Krishna, gradation is given in the entire Madhurika and Vishwanath Chakravarti. In the last chapter in the Prema Bhakti, he discusses that. So this is the stage of Bhava and Prema. So Evam Prasanna Manuso is Rati or Bhava, and Prema is Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga Prema. And then there is Bhagavat Tattva Vijnanam is experience or vision of Krishna. Realizations following Prema. And Harer Madhurya Anubhava. Direct experience of Lord Hari is sweet. That is, I told you, the Gandha and the sound. You hear the ankle bells of Krishna. Now, just to again give you an idea, you all know that British introduced the railways, right? And when Bhakti Siddhanta Sarita Thakur heard the sound of the railway horn, he heard it as the sound flute of Krishna. And for us, it is inconceivable. How is it? That's what happens when one is on the stage of Prema. So there is Harer Madhurya Anubhav. So although these 9 stages are there, Bhava and Prema, Vishwanath Chandra Thakur has added 2. Darshanam and then Harer Madhurya Anubhav. So Darshanam again is at 2 levels. It is at 2 levels. Firstly, in this advanced stage, one is able to perceive Krishna in the heart. Just like Narad Muni had that darshan. And at a higher level, one is able to what? Actually have sakshat darshan of Krishna right in front of him. So these are these 2 levels. What a devotee can experience. And this is exemplified in what? In the Damodar Ashtakam, in Satyavrat Muni's prayers. Satyavrat Muni is saying, Idam te vapur gopala Balam Sadame Manasi. Let me see this Sundar Gopal form in my heart. And in the next verse, he is praying what? Edrishi Akshay. Please come and give me your darshan in front of my eyes. And that is considered still higher. So Narad Muni in his previous life, when he had the darshan of the Lord and he experienced the ecstasy in the Ashta Sattvic Vikaras, and then he suddenly lost that. It was as though he got, $1 million and somebody take it away, even for about a moment. How will you feel? Like somebody got a 10 crore lottery. Hmm? He's been, he does Hamali and suddenly goes and shows you won 10 crore. And he's jumping in ecstasy and saying, no, no, this is A. Number is same, but this is for A group, not this for B group, not A group. It is not. Suddenly it happens. So you're given, so that ecstasy is what he experienced. And suddenly, he lost it. He lost that vision. And then he tried. He tried the same process. Prabhupada mentions, one cannot realize the Lord mechanically. Ultimately, one can realize Lord by the Lord's mercy. So then seeing Narada in that perturbed condition, the loud the Lord spoke. Of course, he did not, you know, show his darshan, but he heard the voice of the Lord. That in this life you cannot see because you are a pakka. You're a co-yogi now. That's the verse. And you might say, what is this? Narada is experiencing having the darshan of the Lord, and Lord is saying that you are co-yogi now. So there are still impurities in his heart. And one such darshan of the Lord, why the Lord does like this is because the Lord Himself says that once you have my darshan, you'll continuously hanker for it. And that hankering will remove all the obstacles, and your attachment to me, to attain me, multiply, will multiply. So that is why one darshan is sufficient. So ultimately it is that once, darshan of the Lord, if the Lord bestows, then it is sufficient to perfect our life. So Kapil Dev in his teachings mentioned that we have been millions and billions of lifetimes being here in this material world and we have been undergoing suffering. But once the Lord gives darshan, that ocean of suffering just turns into a drop. It completely becomes insignificant by the bliss and the ecstasy you experience by that one darshan. So this is what is darshan, Hare Madhura Anubhav. Now Prabhupada in the commentary mentions how rare it is. Manushanam Sahasreshu. Mostly men are conducted by passion and ignorance. They are always engaged in lust, desire, hankering. Out of many such man-like animals, one who knows the responsibility tries to perfect by following Varnashram. And out of many such persons who have attained success in human life, one may know scientifically about the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. So Prabhupada is speaking about Bhagavat Tattva Vigyan. So this Vigyan, as long as we are on the Gyan, we have the understanding, but that is Gyan. But Gyan has not transformed into Vigyan. I remember it was my first class. I After I came in touch with ISKCON, it's my first class which I heard from Bhanu Maharaj. Bhanu Maharaj was in Chennai, T Nagar, and I was working there. The first Sunday I gave, the first class I'm sitting and hearing in a temple, and Bhanu Maharaj is speaking about the creation there. And Bhanu Maharaj made a statement that to learn one lesson from this material world takes many lifetimes. I was Stunned. Yeah, how is that possible? No, I don't think so. This is true. But after 20 years, I realized that that statement is true. That to take one lesson from this material world, it takes some time to realize it. So only when that jnana becomes vigyan, that realization. So only when the jnana completely transforms into vigyan, mukta sangasya jayate. So Prabhupada quotes this 18.55. Scientific knowledge of Krishna is understood only by the process of bhakti yoga. Bhaktya mam abhi janati. That's what. Okay. I will not go further into the Prabhupada. Here Prabhupada is explaining how he has to be transcendental above the modes. A pure Vaishnava is a liberated soul and is transcendental even to the position of a Brahmana. Okay, here last. By this method, with the development of asakti, with worship of Krishna at every moment, Rati then appears. Prasanna Manasana. Without Rati, there could never be constant detachment from objects of material enjoyment. And without constant detachment, there could never be satisfaction of the mind. So, this point, we have to clearly understand that Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga, no, sorry, Vasudeva Bhagavati Bhakti Yoga Prayojita. So I was making that point that Bhakti Yoga Prayojana refers to Bhava Bhakti. Only at the stage of Bhava Bhakti is our detachment complete. Till then, what happens? There is no constant detachment. The Vairagya is not born out of pure devotion. The Vairagya is Shamshan Vairagya. you know? It is there for a moment, for some time, and then it again, the attachment to sense object comes. I met one proper disciple who gave a class in Vrindavan. And then after the class, I was discussing with him. I asked which country you're from. So he mentioned some country very south after Australia and New Zealand. There's one country, and he is the advisor directly to the president of that country. He is a seismologist, that is a one who can predict earthquakes. And in that country, repeatedly earthquakes happen. In a year, two, three earthquakes happen, and it causes devastation. So he's directly an advisor, so that whenever the earthquake happens, what magnitude it is, what measures they have to take. So he advises that directly the prime minister. And he is a devotee. And he told me that he had a very young daughter. And moment the earthquake is to happen, his daughter is to just be absorbed in chanting and not do anything else. And he is perturbed, and he is now, finding out what is the magnitude, and he has to advise the government, and he is disturbed. But the daughter is blissfully chanting. And he was telling me when earthquake happens, it really causes devastation. Building, cars, everything is destroyed. People become sober and they light lamps. And this goes on for 3 days. After third day, they are back into sense gratification. Forget the whole thing after 3 days, they're back into their ordinary routine activities. Repeatedly it happens. Why that constant detachment is not there? So similarly, only at the stage of Rati, there is constant detachment. Then Prema to Bhagwan appears. Bhagavat Bhakti Yoga. From that arises realization, Vijnanam, of the Lord's form, qualities, pastimes, powers, and sweetness. So there that Jnana completely transforms into Vijnana. We might be having, it's not like a static thing, we might be having 10% Jnana and little Vijnana. We might be having 20% Jnana and 2% Vijnana. We might be having 40% Jnana and then 5% Vijnana. But when that Gyan completely transforms into one, that is the stage. The desired result of bhakti has thus been explained. Accompanying results were previously mentioned, Janitya Ashu, Vairagyam, Jnanam, Cha Yad, Ahetukam. So again, this verse is quoted. So these are the accompanying results, Jnana and Vairagya. Here also, they are mentioned with the phrase appearance of Vairagya, Mukta Sangasya. Now, three results are mentioned. What happened in this last verse? Vidyate Hridaya Grantesh Chindante Sarva Samshaya Shiyante Chasya Karmani Drisht Evatmanishware. So three things happen. Vidyate Hridaya Granthi. The Hridaya Granthi is cut. And please remember, this was discussed already by Sud Goswami when he first explained about the Prayojan. Hmm? Karma Granthi Nibadhanam. So here, Vidyante Hridaya Granthi. Chindante Sarva Samshaya. All the doubts are destroyed. On seeing the Lord in the mind and with the eyes. Drishta Eva Atmani Ishware. So, with the pure eyes, he can see the Lord in the heart and he can see the Lord also in the heart. Both happen in different stages of bhava and prema. All karmas are destroyed. Shiyante chasya karmani. So the termination of the karmic chain is completely destroyed. Because there is a termination of the karmic chain, that's why he is able to see the Lord. So as long as the karma is there, that karma will obstruct having the vision of the Lord in the heart. So the termination of the karmic chain is completed here. So in the Nashta Prayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya, the karma chain is almost destroyed. And that's why your bhajan becomes very firm. And at the Asakti stage, the karma, both the Shukrututta and the Duskruttutta are completely destroyed, 100%. At the stage of Bhava, the aparadhs are still remaining. At the stage of Prema, it is completely destroyed. So all karmas is completely destroyed at this stage of Prema. Vidyante Hridayvantis, Chindante Sarva Samshaya, Shiyante Chasya Karmani, Drishtva Evatmanishwari. So Prabhupada Sarva Samshaya, he mentions that there are many speculations about the soul and the super soul. The soul and super soul are one, they are different. So all these doubts are destroyed. Whereas Vishwanath Chakra Thakur mentions that a Bhava Bhakta is having doubts. Imagine Bhava Bhakta is also having doubts. What doubt? Whether I'll attain the Lord or no. No, in this life I'll not attain the Lord. I'm very sinful. That is his thought process. And sometimes a Bhava Bhakta sees an ant going and he starts observing the ant. And he says, if the ant comes in my direction, I will attain the Lord. If it goes in the other direction, I will not attain the Lord. Complete madness. What is the ant going in that direction attaining the Lord? So you know, this is madness. A Bhava Bhakta is like. And this madness is exhibited by whom? Srimati Radharani. When Krishna left. And a bumblebee came. And she started speaking, thinking that bumblebee is Madhusudan, Krishna. And he started speaking to the bumblebee. And Uddhav is watching this. What is this? That is the highest prayer, the Brahma Gita, which comes. So similarly, a Premi Bhakta, although the Lord is there present with him and is exchanging reciprocation, he feels that will I attain the Lord or not attain the Lord? That is his subject. So there these three effects are mentioned in this verse and how he sees the Lord in the heart or he directly sees. So After Sut Goswami has established that bhakti is the Abhidheya, what is the progression of bhakti? So he's giving in these verses all these stages so that it inspires us to take us to bhakti. So he spoke about service to devotees, Mahat Sevaya, then affinity to hear. And when that hearing is done with taste, then there is cleansing of the heart. Then there is a manifestation of bhakti. And then all the abhadras are destroyed, then the bhakti becomes Neshtiki bhakti, Nishta. Then there is Ruchi and Asakti, Bhava, and then Prema. So all these stages are explained. Okay, these are the stages, 14 stages, which we have already discussed, which we went through. Now, the last verse, he concludes. Ato vai kavayo nityam bhakti paramaya muda vasudeve bhagavati korvantyatma prasadanim. Thus the wise constantly, ato vai kavayo nityam, perform bhakti, which gives joy to the mind. Kurvant at prasadanim. To Lord Krishna, Vasudeva Bhakti with great joy. Paramaya muda. So we all should become muda. Muda means to become happy. We should become joyful. This is the result of practicing bhakti. So one who's on the stage of perfection, he is experiencing that happiness. But even a sadhaka, understanding that this is the result of bhakti, he should become happy and joyfully practice bhakti. By saying with great joy, it is indicated that even at the stage of sadhana bhakti, there is no difficulty. There is no difficulty. So one should practice sadhana bhakti with enthusiasm. So that ends the whole discussion of the Bhagavad Dharma series. Right. So Sut Goswami explains what is the essence of all the scriptures. All scriptures point out that one should practice bhakti, sadhana bhakti, which will lead to prema bhakti. And what is the ultimate benefit for all humanity? That he concludes in this verse 1 to 22. So, in that sense, 1 to 6 to 1 to 22 is the answer for the first question of Suta Goswami. Okay. So, any questions you have about the topic which we discussed today? Bhakti Vinod Prabhuji. Yes, devotee. Yeah. Harer Madhur Anubhav. What is mentioned? Madhurya Anubhav. This is used in the Bhagavatam by Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, in his Madhurya Kadamani, in the last chapter, he explains how each of the senses the Lord contacts with that pure divinity. I explained about the Gandha. Initially, he can smell the fragrance of the Lord. Like that, all the different stages he explains there. There it is explained. Now there are two visions. Darshanam means vision. Two, one can mean internal vision in the heart and directly manifesting in front. So in the Damodar Ashtam, Satyavrat Muni is initially in the fourth, I think, prayer. I think it is here only. Let us see. In Damodar Ashtakam, Damodar Ashtakam, yes. Damodar Ashtakam 93. Yeah. Idam te mukambojam atyanta nile vrita kuntale snigdha ratyasha gopya mohushchumbitam bimba rakta dharambe manasya virastam alam lakshalabe. Manasya virastam. I want to see your Gopal beautiful form in my mind. And what is the use of thousands and lakhs of benediction? I don't want these benedictions. Suddenly, a wave of devotion rises in the heart of Satyavrat Muni, and suddenly he changes his prayer in the next verse. And he starts beseeching the Lord with his holy names. Namo Deva Damodar Ananta Vishnu Prasida Prabhu Dukha Jalagni Magna Kripa Drishti Vrishtyati Dina Bhatanu Grahaneshu Mamakyam Edi Akshidrishyam. Come before in front of me and in front of my eyes, Akshidrishya. Give me a darshan. So he's now asking for a bigger prayer. And that's why he takes shelter of the holy names and and you know Jalagni Magnam, Dukkha Jalagni Magnam. So he's feeling the pain of separation. He's not feeling the pains of misery of material existence. So that, lamentation, that spiritual lamentation comes in his heart, and then he requests for this prayer. So this is a superior prayer. So Sanatan Goswami in his Brihad Bhagavatamrit mentions of the journey of Gopkumar. When Gopkumar goes to Swarga, there he sees Indra worshipping Vaman. And then he says, let me also worship the Lord. So Indra commits some offense and he loses his post. So Gopkumar takes that post and he starts worshipping Vaman. But he is attracted to whom? Madan Gopal. So from there he goes to Janaloka. And in Janaloka, Bhrugu and all rishis are there. They are performing a yajna and Vishnu himself is coming to take the oblations, the yajna, avashishta. And although they are having direct darshan of Vishnu, yet they go internal in their heart within themselves and in meditation they are trying to see the Lord. Although Vishnu is coming. So there Sanatan Goswami does a comparative study of which is superior, having the darshan of the Lord in the heart or direct sakshat darshan. And he mentioned sakshat darshan is superior. But yet these sages, because they are rishis and munis and yogis, so they like to go within. So they like to see the Lord within. Although the Lord is coming there front and giving them darshan. So like that comparison is done. So Satyavrat Mani prayer is also here like that. So similarly, vision means that the Lord can appear in the heart and manifest in the heart, or the Lord can come before the devotee. And at the stage of bhava, the devotee is qualified to have darshan of the Lord. And Krishna gives darshan. That's what in the Bhakti Rasamrita it is established. Okay, any other questions? Somebody else also had raised their hand. Yes, Prabhuji. It's not, bhakti has nothing to do with whether one is in a brahmacharya ashram or a grihastha ashram or a vanaprastha ashram or a sannyas ashram. Bhakti has nothing to do with the varna and the ashram. One is based on one's, situation in life is situated, but it all depends on the sincerity. It all depends on one sincerity and seriousness of the practice. These are external things. These are not going to be the factors which will decide. I know many devotees who are in the Grihastha who have a very deep relation with the deities, and deities have revealed many things to them in their dreams. There is one boy who used to serve the deity in his childhood when he was a child, because at home there were deities. And when they changed the home, after many months, the deity came in the dream. Hare Baba, he left me there and went, come, pick me up. So this kid went and he saw actually there was Jagannath, and it was little damaged. And they put clothes, fixed the clothes and healed Jagannath. And that deity, I was really amazed seeing the deities. I said, this deity looks very special. And why is he alone? Jagannath here? What is the reason? I asked. Then they told the story. You know, so it doesn't matter, in which ashram you are. If you sincerely and with all seriousness practice, the Lord will reciprocate. Hmm. That's a question of sincerity. Okay, fine. Okay. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Anant Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai. Hare Krishna. So I really missed out. I think almost all the days of here quite a bit. But on the same way, we really real benefits of the Rambhadra Proposed Association. It's amazing, amazing. So thank you very much, Prabhu. And looking forward to you spending a lot of time. So every last year program, the youth are out weekends. Prabhuji, on your japa, very much in the program, and they've all really benefited. So as always, we request to keep going. Actually, we don't need to be worried about start back. I think also for many years he spent his time at the Bangalore Indian office. So it's very much part of the Bangalore to our Bangalore government. He's done a lot for our Yatra. So he's not a guest. Belongs to him. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you. Oh, Hare Krishna.